Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. Like, subscribe. It's been a minute since I made a video. I posted this on Instagram and had a few people interested, so I figured I'd do a video on it because why not? I just need to get content out there because it's been a while. I've been going through some things like the medical crap, so I haven't really done a video. So bear with me. This is my Mark 18 Mod Zero. I am obsessed with this thing. I SBR'd a Colt lower to be able to run it in a beautiful fashion. And altogether with all of the components, it weighs 8.39 pounds. I have a scale over there. Now, that is heavy for a short-barreled rifle, and I could get the weight down on this, but it is made like clone correct to an extent. I took a 14.5-inch barrel, chopped it down to 10.3. By me, I mean Don Fraley, Thoroughbred Armament, Advanced Weapon Technology. So I did like the Crane spec, the OG, when they were first making the Mark 18s, 14.5 down to 10.3, and RAS2, I do have a 952 on it, on a Midwest mount, and then I have a Comp M2 and a chopped carry handle. Now, if I lost the chopped carry handle, replaced it with a polymer, replaced the flashlight with a more modern one that's not as heavy, and that would result in me losing the mount, I could lose about 4 ounces off this gun, which would make a significant difference, believe it or not, when you're looking at those type of interactions with the firearm. So this is my Hk416 D clone. Basically, it's a BRN4 upper with an HK handguard. So as I was playing around with this gun, and you shouldn't play around with your firearms, by the way, that was bad terminology. As I'm shooting this at the range and messing around with it, I have the 416D, I have the Mark 18 out, and this gun without the handguard weighs 6 pounds. It feels really great. So I decide to go ahead and start stripping components off of the firearm to get an idea of where all of the additional weight is coming from. And I'm running a Comp M2, or sorry, Comp M4 on it. Comp M4 weighs 13.45 ounces. That is a lot for an optic. I love these optics, but they're chunky. The handguard alone, without the BCM and without the Magpul QD on it, weighs 12 ounces. Let's go ahead and break out the scale here. With those components on, it weighs 13.9 ounces. So I'm adding a little bit of additional weight for things that aren't really necessary. And ounces equals pounds. And if you're shooting a lot, and if you plan on using the gun for XYZ things, you may want it lighter. So I came home, realized I do have a different quad rail. I have this Midwest Industries from when I owned my first 416 clone, and this rail weighs 9.9 ounces, which is lighter. So this gun, altogether with the previously aforementioned accessories on it, weighed 8.86 pounds versus the Mark 18, which weighs 8.39 pounds. So I could lose weight off both of these if deciding not to focus on aesthetics, but to focus on functionality. So I am keeping the Troy backup iron sights on it because despite them being a little bit heavier, I could switch over to Magpul Imbus sights. I really like the Troys and I trust them. So here we go in basic configuration before adding any other components. Let's switch over to pounds here. Why am I doing this online? I have no idea. We are at 7.33 pounds, so we've already lost weight. Now, Holosun 510C. Now, people may not like Holosun, but if I leave this gun in this configuration, which this is really all I need, I don't need the hand stop. If I just leave it like this with the Holosun on it, I'm down to 7.81 pounds. And it is noticeably lighter. Now, do I like the way it looks as much in this configuration? Absolutely not. I have had this Holosun for many, many years, probably since they were first introduced. I had picked it up in a trade. I worked at a gun store at the time, and I picked it up in a trade. I have abused this optic. I trust it. I've never had any issues out of it. I've never replaced the battery in it. And it still is holding true. It's been on multiple AKs, it's been on multiple different ARs, and I've never had any issues. So this pistol, the Knight's Armament flash hider, by the way, does need to be ditched. Sorry, Knight's Armament, I love you guys. Not really. I am kind of indifferent, to be honest. But the flash hider really doesn't do that good of work. So it looked cool. I need to remove that. One of the issues I made when I bought this is I couldn't figure out why they were so cheap, the complete upper without the handguard. It's because the heavy barrels weren't selling for a reason, and it's because they're heavy. So I bought the complete upper on sale for like $600 a long time ago. I sold an Aimpoint optic that I had to buy the complete upper, and it's great. It functions great. It's just chunky. And people, one of the comments I did hear back is, if your gun's too heavy, train more. That is fair. Work out more, get back to muscle mass. Well, I am in the process of doing that. I am trying to put on weight. I'm trying to regain muscle tone and XYZ that I lost. But in the meantime, ounces still equals pounds, no matter what universe or what shape you're in. So you might as well, if you can, make it as light and functional as possible. So, again, in this configuration, I don't like the way it looks. But it's going to be a lot lighter. It already is a lot lighter. I did change out the buffer spring on this, or buffer spring. I changed out the buffer on this and went with a heavier buffer, and that solved the issue with this running with PMags. Originally, the firearm would not run with PMags. So someone suggested that it was my buffer weight, it was cycling too quickly, and the mag pull rounds were popping up before, or the bolt carrier wasn't having enough time to, it wasn't slowing. I can't remember what the logic there was, but I mean, it was basically outrunning the magazine. So I did put the heavier buffer in to slow down the buffer as it came back, and I do need to change out the buffer spring weight at this point, because as the bolt is slamming forward, going back into battery, everything is working what it should. I'm not having any misfeeds anymore, and it was running 100% reliably with USGI mags. But the issue I ran into is now, like, you can feel it being much more punchier, even with the weight, before changing out any components, even with the additional weight of the firearm, you could still feel definitely a change in the recoil impulse. And that has to do, one, with the flash hider, and two, with not changing out the spring to correspond with the heavier weight and the mass. So you have the mass of the bolt, you have the buffer that is heavier weight, and it's just not, I need to change out one more component just to get it where I want it. It's functional in that configuration. It's a 5.56. It's not punching very hard, but it shouldn't be more snappier than my Mark 18. My cats have decided they are now shop cats, so they attend pretty much anything I do out here, or they scratch and cry until they can get in. So if you hear meowing, that's Migi, by the way. She's an orange. She has 2 brain cells instead of 1, but she's a great cat. Anyway, thank you for watching. Let me know if aesthetics are more important than weight, or if you would go back to aesthetically pleasing, because in my opinion, the HK quad here is just freaking beautiful, and the Comp M2 just is a great optic, but it's chunky. Anyway, let me know what you guys would do. Thanks for watching.